Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to do a mixed media tutorial. I'm doing on a wood panel, but you could do this as an art journal page. And I am using 4 products that came in NinnysNapkins August Subscription Box. I'm going to be using the Tacky When Dry medium, the Champagne Gold foil transfer sheets, this beautiful napkin called Pumpkin Crop, and the palette knife. Also, using a napkin that was in the subscription box, I made this fall decor item. This napkin's called Pumpkin Love, and I'll put a link to that video in case you want to check it out. If you're interested in the subscription box, I've included some video footage of all the items at the end of this video. So let's get started. As I said, this napkin is called Pumpkin Crop, and I am cutting off half of it and taking off the excess 2 plies. I like leaving the excess 2 plies on whatever part of the napkin I'm going to store. It just helps prevent it from getting damaged. Now I'm thinking of putting this into a wood frame, but I'm inverting the frame and putting it on the inside or the back side, so it kind of looks like a shadow box. I'm uncertain if I'm going to use the 8x10 cradled wood box or the 9x12, and I'll decide once I cut out the elements. At this point, I'm thinking I'm going to use the left side of this napkin with the full wheat sheaf, but cutting it apart allows me to audition it in the substrate that I'm thinking of and make those final decisions. So I've decided to use the 8x10 cradled wood panel because I can put the sentiment on the top. I like how this looks. Now, around the edge, the back of this napkin, the background of this napkin is blue. So we're going to deal with that because that's not going to go translucent. I gave a coat of white gesso to the entire substrate. And now I'm gluing down the napkin with my fluid matte medium. I've recently started using saran wrap. Afterwards, you put your adhesive underneath, and then this helps get out any of the wrinkles. As always, when the napkin is wet, it gets fragile. So take care. It looks like I'm going fast, but this is sped up. Remember that? Now I glued this down first because of that blue edge, and here's how I'm getting rid of that. I'm taking some gesso on a brush and I'm kind of dabbing at the edge. I'm knocking back the blue to neutralize it and kind of making a transition from the napkin to the background. The author or the maker of the napkin was on that, and I don't want that on my picture, so I put some gesso on that. Now for the background, I'm going to put back in the sky and the grass. And remember, I'm doing this on a cradled wood panel. You could do this on a canvas or as an art journal page or even as a card. Now I'm taking some paint with gesso, green and a couple shades of green, as well as the Naples yellow, which is a golden color, and it's very opaque and it mixes well. And I'm painting the grass out. Now the reason I'm painting the grass on the napkin is, 1, to make the colors a little more vibrant, but 2, I'm going to add grass on the left side of that wheelbarrow wheel. And I want it to look like it's all the same. So again, I'm painting this with the Naples yellow and a couple different greens. And if you mix colors, it adds a lot of value to your art. It's not as flat. And I find it's a little more forgiving. I'm trying to make grass with my fine liner brush. And I keep playing with it till it's going to look like grass. I'm happy with the color that I have so far. And now I'm going to paint the sky, and I'm using light blue permanent, white gesso, and I do mix in a little bit of the Naples yellow. That's that golden color, and it adds to the sky and ties it in with the colors that are in the napkin. I'm not trying to get the sky completely flat. I want variations. I want some darker and lighter areas. Here I'm adding in that Naples yellow. It's just that little bit of yellow, and it just adds so much. And since Naples yellow is in the grass and as well as the picture, it makes everything work together. Remember, this is just the first layer. This is the base color of the sky. We're going to be adding a lot to it yet. I took this stencil, it's called Happy Dandelions, because it had those grass shapes, and I'm stenciling in with my darkest green the grass, both on the napkin and the part that I added. Now you could paint in the grass, but I'm showing you an alternative if you aren't getting the effect you like. Look at your stencils, look for a part. Branches might work for that. Something on one of your stencils will probably fit. If you make a mistake, because everything is acrylic and permanent, I can go in and wipe it out. It's a little hard with the cradled wood frame if you're working on the top part of the cradled wood, or on a canvas or an art journal page. This will be a whole lot easier because you have a flat surface to work on. Since I had that Happy Dandelion stencil out, I looked at it and I thought, you know what, that might add some interesting pattern to my sky. So I'm coming in with straight on light blue permanent, some of the just white gesso, and I'm stenciling it in. I want this to look like clouds. Now the background I want to be very subtle. I don't want it to compete with the focal image. And again, because I'm working on the inside or the back side of the cradle wood panel, this is a little hard to maneuver and get everywhere. If you're working on a flat surface, that will be a whole lot easier. And here I'm adding some of the Naples yellow through. I'm not necessarily trying to get the full flower. I just want this to add that subtle pattern to my background. And I'm loving the background. And I'm just keep layering with the same stencil, and you get a lot of visual texture. And I'm adding white, blue, just layering it up. This would work perfect on a 8x10 canvas board. Here I had painted the inside Naples yellow, and of course I got some paint on it, so I was touching it up. But in a minute you're going to see that was a waste of my time. I decided that I'm going with a teal color for the frame of my inverted wood panel. And I chose teal because teal is on the wheelbarrow. And I mixed up, it is blue-green from Amsterdam, Prussian blue, as well as the Naples yellow. And that makes this beautiful teal that matches my decor perfectly. But the colors, that orange with the teal, is really in this season. You see it a lot at Michael's and at Dollar Tree in the home decor items. I'm adding a little bit of Prussian blue in there, and then I decide, you know, I'm going to do the inside the same. I'm thinking that's going to look better than the Naples yellow. So now I'm going to use the Tacky When Dry medium. This is from the Crafter's Workshop, and it's just like gel medium, and you apply it through a stencil just like you would modeling paste. So I'm using this ethereal stencil. I'm putting this little motif around the top of the frame. Now it's a little awkward to perch it on there. So again, this, if it's your first time using the Tacky When Dry stuff, you may want to do it on a flat surface. I'm trying to speed it along, so I'm getting the placement and continuing without letting it dry. If you can't successfully do this without mucking up what you've already put down, you're going to have to allow drying time in between. And I'm going to work this motif all the way around the frame. This is going to give some subtle texture, but it's going to allow us to use the foil transfer, the gold foil transfer paper. Now, as you can see, this goes on white when you put it on, and you're going to have to wait till it's dry. And when it's dry, it will be perfectly clear. Now, if you were doing this on a canvas or an art journal page, you may paint in a teal border like this, or you could omit that border altogether. Just depends on the look that you want to achieve. So that is all the way done. I did wash my stencil right away. You don't want that to dry on your stencil. It might be harder to take it off. So this is about after 15 minutes, and as you can see, it's not perfectly clear. But I'm going to move along, and I'm going to put on the sentiment. And I made a bunch of ideas of what I thought I might like, and I printed this out onto tissue paper. I've decided to use the one that says Harvest Blessings. So I am cutting it out, and I'm keeping the copy paper attached. That gives substance to it and makes it easier for it to cut out. The tissue paper will mostly go translucent, but the darker your background is, the more likely it is that you might see some of it. So I'm cutting off as much of the excess as I can. I've positioned it where I like it, and I'm putting a generous amount of fluid matte medium underneath and then on top. Now, I printed this out and it didn't have a lot of time to cure or dry, so some of the ink, even though it was a laser printer, did come off, but I show you how I dealt with that later. So now you can see that the tacky, when dry, medium completely dried. It took at least half an hour, but that will depend on how thick you apply it and the size that you put it in. So now I'm taking the foil transfer sheets, and as you can see, I'm just simply pressing it on and getting that gold on there. Even I can use the little bits and piece it together. Now this medium is, as it says, it's tacky once it's dry until you put the foil on. Here I'm using all the little bits. It gives a slightly different effect. Now in the foil packages you get 10 sheets, I believe, of foil. You can use gold flake like this one. It will work as well. It's a little messier. I like the freedom of and the lack of mess that goes with these foil sheets from the Crafter's Workshop. Here I'm just going over it all afterwards. Now, some of it, because I got the tacky when wet medium, I wasn't perfect on doing it. But I thought, oh, I wonder if I can paint that out. And you can. I hear I'm taking the teal paint that I mixed up and touching up wherever the gold was that I didn't want it. So here I am making the sentiment darker and dealing with the fact that I didn't let it cure and it kind of rubbed off a little bit. I'm just taking my liner brush and some thinned black paint. Now my liner brush is a longer one, and I find that that works better for going over lettering. But use whatever works best for you. You can use a Posca pen here if you want, or the Sakura glaze pens if you feel you have more control using that. So now I'm taking my Inktense blocks and I'm just giving it a wash of color to just boost the color of the focal image, just brighten it up, just that smidge. I'm looking at my swatches and picking the colors to match. Now, if you don't have Inktense blocks, you can use your acrylic paints. Both of those are permanent, the Inktense blocks but you will want to thin it down and mainly do a wash of it. I prefer using the Inktense because it's more translucent. If you were to use something like watercolor, you would have to seal it before you varnished it because the watercolor will reactivate. Here I'm adding a little bit of teal wash so it looks better with the frame that I had. And I'm adding some shading. This is also where I add in some of the ends of the napkin got taken off, like some of the stems of the pumpkins, some of those finer pieces. I'm just painting that back in. I don't show this entire process. It took me a while. I'm just matching the colors and coming back in. And now I'm using my black and I'm doing some shading around the shapes of the pumpkins. Now the gold foil transfer, why would you do that instead of just using gold paint? It is so much shinier. It gives a completely different effect. I love it. I walk by this frame and it just shines in a way that I don't get with gold paint. I think this would make a perfect fall gift if you're going to someone's house for Thanksgiving. This would be great. Then I splatter with gold. And the reason for splattering with gold, I'm going right over top of everything, so it makes everything work together. Any imperfections that are in the frame, some of that gold foil that got where I wasn't supposed to be, this kind of masks it. But if you're not a splatter person, omit this step. These are suggestions. Now, the outside of my frame, again, was looking a little unfinished, uneven. It's a frame from Dollar Tree, so it's not the highest of quality. So I'm adding this pattern from the ethereal stencil. This is the same stencil that I used to go around the outside of the frame with the gold foil. Although this time I'm using the 6-inch. Just adding a bit of a detail there that, again, is hiding it. And there is the finished project. I love it. I'm putting it in a frame. So in the kit, you got 2 foils, and yes, there are 12 sheets in each one, and tacky when dry medium. Now TCW also has these in other colors: copper, lime green, black tie, can't wait to use that one, platinum silver, and terre verte. So I'm sure you'll see me using those. It also includes this deep red sunflower stamp. I can't wait to use that. Perfect for ATCs or cards. This stacked pumpkins stencil from the Crafter's Workshop. Look how cute that is. This is perfect for a slimline card. And this stencil, it's a 6x6 called Tropical Vibe. You can use it as it is to make a all over painting or picture, or use the individual portions to add texture and pattern to any project. We also get 2 of these tear resistant tissues from Ninny's Napkins. They're like very thin fabric and they're perfect for decoupaging. Wetting does not compromise the strength. It says it won't wrinkle or tear. These are 11x7, where I think I'm going to use this one as an Insta background on my art journal page, but you can use these on home decor items or furniture. Ninny included an envelope of assorted ephemera. We've got butterfly stamps, we have some stickers, some sticker tags, some Halloween stickers, just a variety of assortment that you can use on any project. And don't throw out this envelope. This could be added to an art journal page as well. And if it's Ninny's Napkins, you know it's going to have some napkins, and you get 6 different napkins, 2 of each. So again, this one's called Pumpkin Crop, and you have 4 identical ones, so you can make 4 different projects with 1 napkin. This one is called Pumpkin Love, and again you have, it's not exactly 4 identical, you have 4 of the group of pumpkins, but then you have other motifs that are also going to work well on any fall project. Love this one. Both of those I think are going to sell out really quickly. This one is called Pumpkin All Over. This one would make a nice coaster, a background for an art journal page, or you can cut out the individual pumpkins and layer them and make your own composition. The colors are amazing. This one I don't have the name for. It is huge. Look at the size of these pumpkins. I love the corner. If you're using part of it, you could put that on a tray. If you're not a turkey fan, you could water cut that turkey out and then use pumpkins from a different part of the napkin and layer it up so you just have the pumpkins, if that's your thing. Remember, you don't have to use the napkin as it is. Then we have two 5x5 napkins. One says, eat, drink, and be thankful. The other says, give thanks and be grateful. I think these would make beautiful coasters for a hostess gift. Now you can use wooden coasters. These ones are cardboard coasters, and you can get the cardboard coasters at Ninny's Napkins. And they're disposable, but what fun. Each of these napkins will make 4 coasters. So if you are interested in checking out the subscription and the membership to Ninny's Napkins, I will put a link in the description box and you can go check out the details there. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this project. Give me a comment, share this with your creative friends, ask me a question. Until next time, go get creative.